For the most part, women who are pregnant and give birth today have it pretty good. But pregnancy and childbirth carry risk even today in 2022. Imagine how it was for women in the 1900s, the 1800s, or even in ancient Greece to give birth. Childbirth in ancient Greece was extremely dangerous to the mother and child because a lot was unknown about the body, especially during gestation. Many women and babies died. The ancient Greeks thought they had it all figured out, though. Instead of putting their trust in medical doctors, they prayed to their gods. Welcome to Crazy Histories, where we bring you the craziest and weirdest facts from human history. Some of the things discussed in this video may be offensive or disturbing, so viewer discretion is advised. Baby girls. It was the duty of women in ancient Greece to procreate pretty much as soon as they reached puberty. Not only was it their duty to bear children, but they should also only bear boys who could grow up as soldiers and defend their cities. Well, no matter how many gods they prayed to, there was no guarantee a woman would give birth to a baby boy, and sometimes a girl would slip through their prayers. If a baby girl was born, it was up to the father to keep or expose her. To expose the baby meant to get rid of it and leave its fate up to the gods. Sadly, most baby girls were disposed of because of their gender. Sometimes a baby girl was kept, but only because it would be another female to clean and perform other family responsibilities. The wandering womb syndrome. For being known for advancements in medicine and science, ancient Greeks knew very little about the female body. Doctors during the time believed in a phenomenon called wandering womb. Some accepted that the womb was a living creature inside a female's body and had a mind of its own. Sometimes the womb would get displaced and travel throughout the body searching for semen. The displaced womb was also to blame for different maladies women would complain of: sore throat, wandering womb; backache, wandering womb; chest pain, wandering womb. The womb could travel up and down and side to side. It could knock into other organs like the spleen, liver, and stomach. If a uterus moved too high in a woman's body, it would cause her to become lethargic, weak, and dizzy. A uterus that traveled too low could cause a woman to choke, lose her speech, and even sudden death. Doctors would try and coax the uterus back to its rightful spot by placing pleasant smells on a woman's nether regions and foul-smelling ones on whichever area the body was causing pain. The foul odors would drive the uterus from where it wasn't supposed to be, and the sweet floral smells would lead it back to where it was supposed to go. Pregnancy as a cure-all. But the smell trick was not the only surefire way to keep the uterus in place. No. The only way to ensure a womb didn't wander was to have a baby. Doctors would prescribe sex if a woman had a wandering womb. A fetus would weigh the womb down and stop it from wandering throughout the body and cause a woman undue pain. A man's seed could be used to moisten the womb and keep it weighed down as often as possible. To physicians from ancient Greece, it made sense to heal back and leg pain by carrying a giant baby. The misinformation about a woman's body didn't end there, though. Greek doctors also thought women had more pores than men, and because of that, they soaked up more water. All of that excess water in a woman's body had to come out somewhere, and that's why she leaked milk from her breasts and experienced menses once a month. The blood buildup in a woman could be painful, and the ancient Greeks believed this is why she experienced painful cramps. The cure to these painful cramps? A baby. Childbirth would help to stretch the blood vessels and relieve the painful cramps associated with menses. Never mind the fact that labor brought its own pain and complications. Even today, with modern technology, pregnancy can be dangerous to both mother and child. Think of all the things women have access to today when they're in labor: blood transfusions, C-sections, forceps, and other items not available in Greece during that time. In ancient Greece, pregnancy was hazardous, and most women went through 6 or more of them. Many women and children died during labor because these life-saving procedures and instruments were non-existent. Abortion and contraceptives. Like everyone else, too much of a good thing becomes bad, and pregnancy isn't any different. A woman with too many babies could be detrimental even if they were all boys. If there were too many sons in a family, then the family's estate would be spread out amongst all of them, leaving it too thin. Back in ancient Greece, every married son needed to pay a dowry for his bride. More sons meant more brides, and that meant less of a legacy. Since small family sizes were ideal, birth control and abortion were socially acceptable in ancient Greece. Silphium was a popular herb used to terminate pregnancies. Unlike other herbs that had to be inserted vaginally, silphium could be taken orally. No longer found, silphium is not extinct because of its overuse during ancient times. Birthwort is another herb that could have been taken orally to induce abortion. It was also used to help with the discomfort of labor pains. Many herbs used to generate a miscarriage were toxic, even in small doses, and were the cause of many unintentional fetal deaths in ancient Greece. Hippocrates, a famous Greek physician, once advised a pregnant patient to jump continuously up and down, touching her buttocks with her heels. Serenus, another Greek physician, used diuretics and enemas to induce abortion, but didn't recommend using sharp instruments because of the risk of organ perforation. Sharp objects were used to perform what would be a modern-day dilation and evacuation of the uterus. Misconceptions and midwives. In ancient Greece, doctors weren't the primary person to deliver the baby. A midwife was. Doctors were only called if a complication arose. Before a woman could begin to push, the midwife would search the room for knots. Knots in ancient Greek culture symbolized something nefarious. It was believed knots could prevent or delay a birth. Since it was assumed that menses were caused by excess moisture, little was known about the uterus as an organ. It was thought the uterus was just a sac that held the baby, pliable and weak. That couldn't be more opposite of the powerful muscle that could push a baby out by itself. Because of the misconception, labor was often induced by shaking the mom in the hopes of her uterus breaking open and knocking the baby out. Also, according to ancient Greek philosophers, it would take 40 days for a female fetus and 30 days for a male fetus to form. Female fetuses took longer to develop because females were weaker than males. According to the ancient Greeks, a woman giving birth to a baby girl is said to have had more difficult labor in ancient Greece. Gods over doctors. Doctors were highly regarded in ancient Greek culture, but not as highly regarded as the gods were. If a complication occurred, the doctor would most likely pray to the gods than do anything helpful. So, as a woman in labor was writhing in pain in ancient Greece with a breached baby, her doctor offered safety pins to Hera. There was a god for everything in ancient Greece. The most well-known ones are Zeus, the god of lightning, and Poseidon, the god of sea and water. Artemis is the goddess of childbirth, amongst many other things. Hera, a well-known goddess known for protecting women, is also a goddess of fertility and birth. The ancient Greeks would leave offerings to these fertility goddesses like articles of clothing with metal fasteners. It's thought the pins were applied to the cloth offerings to symbolize a woman's growing womb during pregnancy and a loosening of a belt. Childhood in ancient Greece. Surviving labor was a feat, and childhood in ancient Greece wasn't any easier. The trouble was only starting if a child survived childbirth, and the father deemed them worthy enough to keep. After a baby was born in ancient Greece, the parents would swaddle them from their heads to their toes. This swaddling practice isn't like the swaddling we know today. A baby would stay wrapped for almost 2 months in what was known as swaddling bands. With the baby wrapped so tight, it was hard to read the signs of when they were tired, hungry, or had gone to the bathroom. If a child was born in Sparta, it was up to the city-state officials to deem them worthy of living or exposure. Any son considered worthy of living was trained by his father until he was about 6 years old. When he turned 7, if he was still alive, he would be sent away to be raised and taught by the military. There is no doubt that life was a nightmare for a woman in ancient Greece, but pregnancy was on a different level. From the start, baby girls had it rough, being disposed of being female, but their future was bleak even if they were kept. The cure to every headache wasn't 2 Tylenol in a glass of water, but pregnancy. If that's the case, a married woman must have spent more than half her life pregnant. As if 10 pregnancies in a lifetime wasn't enough, no one knew what they were doing. The doctors trusted gods more than science and thought a uterus could travel to a foot. If you enjoyed this video about the sad truth about pregnancy in ancient Greece, click the like and subscribe button for more crazy history stories where we bring you the craziest and weirdest facts from human history.